Welcome to Lobby Up News with your anchors Matt Weber
y Luis Contreras, transmitiendo en español.
Today's headlines, we have Cyberpunk 2077 updates, trash Nintendo Switch Mortal Kombat performance, and a mountain of Microsoft leaks. Stay tuned for the coverage you depend on.
Cada día mi depresión se empeora. Go!
You guys ready? Lobby up.
Hey guys, lobby up.
GG's, lobby up.
Dude, we gotta lobby up.
Lobby up.
Hey, should we lobby up?
Yo, lobby up.
Lobby up, y'all.
Hey, let's grab a beer. Lobby up.
All right, everyone, before we get into our headlines, I just want to say, we value your time here at Lobby Up, and we realize that we can't deep dive into every topic we would like to. So today, we are presenting our first ever Miscellaneous Minute. I will be informing all of you on as many random gaming topics as I can in just 1 minute. Lewis, put 60 seconds on the clock and let me know when to start.
Break the targets. 3, 2.
Wait. No. That's a different thing. That's from Smash Bros.
All right, my bad. All right. We got this. 3,
Got it.
2, 1, go.
Pokemon cards are back in Happy Meals. Games leaving Game Pass in the next 2 weeks include Moonscars, Outriders, Beacon Pines, Last Call BBS, Weird West, Despot's Game, and Proteus. GameStop is having a buy one get two sale on all of their clearance. Fortnite players can apply for their portion of the $245 million FTC settlement for false transactions. Lies of P officially released this past Tuesday on all consoles, and it's included day one on Game Pass. Sony announces Final Fantasy VII Rebirth release date for February 29th, 2024. Colonel Sanders is canonically a black mage in Final Fantasy XIV. Tears of the Kingdom is confirmed to not receive any DLC. Charles Martinet is now a Mario ambassador who will be attending in-person events to endorse Mario. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC Part 1, titled The Teal Mask, released on the 13th. Nintendo announced remakes for Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door coming to the Switch, as well as the final Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Amiibo, Sora.
Time. Yo,
It's like I
hit
planned
1 minute.
that or something.
just slightly. You hit. Ready. 1 minute, 0 seconds, 216 milliseconds.
Ew, look at that.
Nice. Cue the cheers. Man, that's crazy. You want to know what I'm most excited about out of everything
It's
you
got to
said?
be something Xbox related.
No, absolutely
Whoa.
not. Pokemon cards are back in Happy Meals. Oh, yes. I'm so excited for
Man.
that. So McDonald's really screwed me over. The first go around with those Pokemon cards in the Happy Meals, my wife and I, and Matt too, so everybody knows, we all love our Pokemon cards.
It's true.
So we got in line, we bought ourselves some Happy Meals. I was so excited for my Pokemon cards. And we get home, my wife's opening up her
Oh,
cards.
no.
She's super stoked about everything she got. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's my turn. So I'm opening up my cards and I'm starting to notice that these cards look a little weird. I'm like, why do these cards look so weird? Well, after like a second of really looking at them, I realized that they're in freaking Spanish.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, why did I get freaking Spanish Pokemon cards? Like, what the heck?
That's
And
crazy.
my wife's trying to make me feel better about the whole thing. She's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm like, yes, it freaking does. She's like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, okay, if it doesn't matter, do you want my Spanish Pokemon cards? That was a hard no right then and there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's saying something coming from you, a native Spanish speaker.
I want my Pokemon cards to be American.
Yeah, no, that would be absolutely brutal. Imagine a kid opening that and seeing them in Spanish. Like, how heartbroken.
Mommy, Daddy, I don't understand the Pokemon
No
cards.
entiendo. For me, dude, I am so excited that we are finally getting the last Smash Amiibo Sora. Because, I mean, you know how much Kingdom Hearts means to me.
For sure, man. You're the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan that I personally know. And I was so excited for your 30th birthday that you got to open up a...
Ah, yes, a Keyblade, like an actual life-size replica Keyblade. Lewis and his wife got me a Keyblade for my birthday. They sent it by mail to me, and it came beautiful and perfect. I still need to hang it up on my wall. I'm just trying to find the right spot in my nerd room to do so. With that, everyone, let's move right into our headlines. Let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077. They just released this huge free 2.0, as they're calling it, update, and it's a DLC called Phantom Liberty. It came out on the 21st. It's going to have a big story expansion in the DLC, as well as apparently just a complete overhaul of all the base game changes, the perks, the combat, the skill tree system, the police AI. You actually played this game when it first came out, didn't you?
Yeah, and listen, played is honestly an understatement. I feel like I barely played the game, and to no fault of my own, I'm going to go ahead and shrug that responsibility off my shoulders because I did try to play it. I got about 5 hours in, and let me tell you, the glitches were it was just too much, man. It was too much. It was an ugly game. Nothing what the trailers looked like. The NPCs were T-posing randomly on the streets.
Oh my gosh.
The resolution drops were insane. It looked like I was playing a PlayStation 1 game, man.
Dang. Oh, that's terrible. And what I'm seeing now from the developer Project Red is that they're recommending that you actually start a new save file. They're saying that the changes are so huge and gameplay changes across the board are this massive scale that they're like, you should just, they're like, oh, you can continue your current save file if you want, but they actually recommend starting over. I mean, what do you think about that? This game came out in 2020.
So I'll be honest, I'm sure that CD Projekt Red has gamers like me in mind, the guys that and the ladies that started this game and they were extremely excited for it. They dipped in the beginning because it was too much of an awful game.
Yeah.
And this is a good way to kind of press that reset button on those players. I've seen a lot on Twitter, or sorry, Elon, on X. People are coming around to the idea of giving this game another chance, or even finishing their save files that they never finished. It looks like that's where CD Projekt Red is angling that statement from. Come on back, start a new game, give this another chance.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so with that said, are you planning on giving it another chance? Are you going to play it again?
I've been mulling it over ever since it was announced that, this huge upgrade to the game, a 2.0 version of this game. It's been in the back of my mind. I'll be honest, I'm not sure yet, but I know there's an inkling of a chance that I would. So when the game first released, it was so bad that retailers were accepting returns for this game, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
You never hear that. PlayStation took it off the storefronts. It was so bad and didn't put it back on for months on end. So I had a chance to return the game, but I got No Man's Sky syndrome is what I call it, which means to me, I have a feeling that this game could be better, and maybe I'll keep the CD, keep the disc, just in case it becomes better 5, 6, 7 years down the line. Right. So I kept it. I considered it a $60 investment at the time, but I don't know if I'm ready to cash in that investment yet. I'm not sure. Right. The reviews are glowing for it. I think IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, which is, that's good. And many other outlets have given it in that range, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Maybe.
Fair enough. And I mean, being both adults, your father and a husband, and work full time on top of everything else, and our adult listeners can empathize with this. Our gaming backlogs are huge. So the fact that we have new games that came out now, it's hard to, even if they have put in this beautiful update, it's hard to wrap your mind around playing a 3-year-old game. Yeah. So, there's that. The last thing that I really wanted to point out about this that I have not seen really anywhere. So, like I said, this game released December 10th, 2020. It released just 1 month after the PS5 and Xbox Series X were released.
Yes.
So it came out on the PS4 and PS5, the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, Stadia.
Oh my gosh, rest in peace.
And Windows, of course. Yeah, right. So the new version of Cyberpunk is not coming to the PS4 and Xbox One,
which is a good sign.
I think it's a little bit controversial in the sense that it's like, okay, you came out with this game 3 years ago and it was broken. Now 3 years later you fixed it and made it a really enjoyable experience.
Yes.
I think that's kind of wrong to the people who maybe can't afford to get their upgrade, but they wanted to be part of Cyberpunk. And it was right on the cusp of the end of that PS4, Xbox One era. So I think that's kind of wrong. I mean, yeah, sure.
I see where you're coming from.
You know, it's like sure you've got these new higher technology advanced updates, but I mean, what about those guys? You know?
Yeah, and they bought your game. They bought your stupid broken game,
Right.
and you basically just left them.
Hanging.
You left them to die. You just
Yeah.
left them out there in the desolate wasteland that is Cyberpunk on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4.
Right. So if you're still playing those consoles, especially if you still have that copy of Cyberpunk, just know you will not be included in the update. So with that, let's transition now into our next topic, Mortal Kombat 1. If you have any form of
Oh,
social media,
man.
if you are following
Oh.
any type of gaming news, you have seen the screenshots. You've
The
seen the
screenshots are
comparisons.
awful. God.
They're disgusting. Looking at how this $70 game looks on the Switch to the $70 version that's on the Series X and the PS5 is atrocious.
They should be ashamed of
um,
themselves. They should be ashamed.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this because it's not the first time it's happened. It's not the first time that we've seen the Switch perform not as well as the Series X or the PS5. And this is obvious. It's not rocket science. The hardware is just not where it needs to be to output the same things that its competitors are. So let's talk about this, man. When you have a game coming out in 2023 and you want it to look like next gen, is it the Switch owner's fault for buying the game and expecting it to look how they want it to be, or is it the developer's fault for not finding some type of creative solution? What do you think?
So here's my thoughts on that. It's never the consumer's fault, and I stand by that entirely. As a
Customer's
Switch
always
owner,
right, huh?
for the most part, not always, but for the most part. In this case, I have to side with the consumer. I have a Switch. You are offering this game on the Switch. There needs to be a certain level of quality to this Switch game. And yes, as a Switch owner, you and I both own a Switch.
Right.
If I'm buying a third-party game on the Switch, I do automatically know that for the most part it's going to be a lesser visual experience.
Right.
But with that being said, the atrocity that is being played right now on the Switch for $70, it makes absolute zero sense. That game should have never been released. It should have stayed in the oven a little longer, and that's where I blame
Right.
the developers. If there's no way that someone in quality assurance was looking at this game and went, "Yep, go ahead and send that out. They're gonna buy it anyways." Like,
Yeah.
it's atrocious, man. It's a crime.
So you're leading me right into one of my next things I want to talk to you about, and that's that we are in a weird time right now where games are having to be optimized and redeveloped for all these different platforms, all these different hardwares. So you face this problem where the developer comes up with the game. They're like, all right, here's Mortal Kombat 1, and we had the Xbox Series X and PS5 in mind because PC, it's their own fault if they don't have the stuff that they need. But
Get good.
yeah, but these are our latest consoles. But then you have things like one of my opinions here of why Stadia failed is you can't stream a game like this well at the performance that you want to achieve to your smart TV. So there's
Yes.
that constraint for the hardware for the developers. And then you've got the Switch, which is known to be not
Underpowered.
as superior. Yeah, it's underpowered. And even the Series S, which we'll talk more about that later, it's great, but it's still just not quite at that quality that you would want for a AAA game. Just not quite there. Just and we're talking splitting hairs, but sometimes it does get significant. So what I'm wondering with you, bro, is what do we do about that problem? What do we as consumers, what's our responsibility there when it comes to games that have to be re-optimized, because that pushes back the development window. It takes more time to develop something like that. So I mean, do we expect the lower hardwares to have not as good of performance and maybe cost less? Is that a good solution? What do you think?
There's a lot of nuances behind that, and I don't think that I'm qualified to answer that question.
Yeah, just like kind of, I mean, what are your thoughts in general on this?
Oh,
I
no,
mean,
no. Listen, you didn't let me finish. I am not qualified to answer this question, but I'm gonna. So, to be honest, we need to not give developers our money if the game is subpar. Period.
I like that.
Point blank. You hit them where it hurts, whether you like it or not. We are in a capitalistic country. At the very least in the States, we live in the States. I can only talk about us like in this sense. We got to hit them where it hurts, and that's the
Yeah.
wallet. And if they think that it's okay to release a game like in this state, they got another thing coming. They've already stated that they're going to update the game and
Right.
try to optimize it even more, and I commend them for that. Thank you. But they should have never released it in that state. It should have never have
Right.
been $70. No one should have bought it. I am not saying in any sense that you shouldn't go out and buy Mortal Kombat. That's not what I'm saying. I fully plan to play Mortal Kombat. I'm very excited for this game, but I'm going to be playing it on the Series X.
Right.
I'm not going to be playing it on the Switch. I'd rather pull my eyes out and do a fatality on myself.
Like
So-
how that one screenshot looked where their eyes were popping out.
Oh my god, they're literally bulging. They're literally bulging. But no Switch owner out there should be buying that game, no matter how enticing it sounds. You shouldn't be buying that game.
For
Spend your money.
$70.
$70 can get you some of the best games, in the last decade.
That are
Um,
exclusive to the Switch.
Our exclusive decade, I mean, 2026 will be a decade since it released. Some of the best games out there are on the Switch. If you have $70 to burn, you're ready, you want to invest in some games for your Switch. You got Tears of the Kingdom, you have
Yes.
Mario Odyssey, you have Splatoon 3, you have all these games that you can buy instead of this broken game. Don't give them your money, guys, please.
Because otherwise we end up in another Cyberpunk situation. Like you
Yes.
said, Ed Boon, the creator of Mortal Kombat, confirmed that there's going to be an update, as they should. But how many times do we have to purchase a broken game and wait for it to be fixed post-release before we say, maybe we wait? Maybe we wait till after release to buy this thing. Do we need to pre-order every single game? Do we need to be funding games before they release every time? My personal opinion is no.
Yeah. I mean, with Mortal Kombat, there is a certain level of quality that you're used to. Listen, since Mortal Kombat 9 released back in 2012, 2011, since then, NetherRealm Studios hasn't missed, man. With those fighting games, the Injustice series is extremely well made. So
Right.
there is a level of competency that you're expecting from a NetherRealm game. So to see that release is disheartening.
Yeah.
Even Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch looked infinitely better than this garbage that's out right now. And
Right.
here on Lobby Up, we really do try to keep a positive demeanor for games. We truly believe that nobody's out there setting out to make a bad game.
For sure.
But man, did they make a bad game. Man, they made not sorry, let me rephrase that. Man, did they make a bad port of a
Right,
of a
to the Switch.
awesome game.
Right. Like you said, you're going to be playing this on the Series X, which it's going to perform as it should. So it's
Yes.
going to look beautiful. It's going to perform great. And I've seen footage of the game. It looks awesome. I would, like you said, never buy this for the Switch. And that's where I do think there is a level of responsibility for the consumer here. While you should expect a quality game when you buy it for a major console, we have to start thinking about, are we part of the problem for why this happens?
Yeah.
Should we be expecting a third-party AAA game like this to perform as well on the Switch? No, I firmly believe no. So if you don't like paying $70 for a game that's not going to perform as well because it can't, then don't. And maybe consider what limitations you have, for your own hardware at home, and just upgrade to the superior console, the PS5.
I was waiting for that. I feel that not enough people are shining the light on Nintendo on this too. Yes, it is an old console, but out the get-go, the Switch was underpowered when it first released. The tech was revolutionary. I mean, let's be real. The hybrid console idea was amazing. That's revolutionary, and people have been trying to imitate that success since the release of the Switch. And because of that, we've gotten the Steam Deck and all these what would you call them, portable gaming PCs.
Steam Deck. There's like an Asus one now.
There's a Logitech one as well. So there's a couple. So I got to give Switch the praises, but from the get-go, it was an underpowered system, and it's showing its age. But it's showing its age even worse, because if it came out in 2016, 2017, the tech was probably 2 years old already at that point. We're looking at a very aged out Switch right now. And I hope that for the next console, the Switch 2, that Nintendo really keeps that into mind, that power does mean something in 2023.
Right. Which reminds me, Lewis, all of you listening with us right now are hearing it in September of 2023 that Lewis and I have a bet on when this Switch is going to come out. And I personally believe that the perfect time for it to release will be next year in the holidays. It's obviously too late right now. We would have had some sort of announcement if it was going to come out these holidays, which I predicted. Lewis and I talked about this at the beginning of this year. Lewis believes it's going to come out early 2025.
I do. I'm still firm in my beliefs. I'm holding tight, my man. I believe that the Switch 2 will come first quarter 2025, just like the original Switch did. The original Switch came out actually on my birthday, March 3rd. And I was super stoked. It was my birthday gift, but that was first quarter of that year. I think that Nintendo will do the same thing. First quarter 2025. And whoever wins this bet gets a nice, crisp,
juicy,
brand new 2025, because it's going to be in 2025, $1 bill, and it's going to be glorious.
Lewis has just confirmed he's going to wait 4 months to pay me my dollar. All right, moving on to the massive,
ginormous
mountain of Microsoft leaks.
Gosh,
this all came out because of the FTC case. And yeah, there's so much to go through.
There's more leaks on that boat than you can get on freaking Sea of Thieves, man. Like Xbox has so many giant cannonball size holes in the ship of Microsoft. Like it's insane how much water's just pouring in.
Yeah, I mean, these leaks are crazy right now. So we got to dig into this. So just so everyone knows, this is real. This did happen. Phil Spencer did respond to the leak. He confirmed they are in fact old internal emails and documents. He released a statement that said, "It is hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future. We will share the real plans when we are ready." And just so everyone knows, this is a lot of documents that were circulating back in 2022.
Yes.
But to everything that's been going on with Microsoft, the U.S. District Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley did respond, and she stated that Microsoft actually inadvertently caused this leak in their attempt to provide the FTC with a secure cloud link to their documents.
She said, "This ain't my fault." That is what she
yeah, she was like, "Don't look at me, guys," because initial speculations were like, "Did Microsoft plan this? Was this some publicity stunt?"
Dude, if Microsoft planned this, it'd be the worst. Like, I don't know what like 20 IQ move they were trying to make, but it wasn't it, man. This wasn't it.
This wasn't like Sony fanboy hackers. Like, this was because we just had a glitch in the Matrix, and now everybody gets to sink their teeth into it, right? So I've been thinking about how to approach this with you all, And I want to discuss this in the context of something that could be good publicity for Microsoft, as well as something on the fence, something neutral, maybe
Neutral,
could,
it's
could hurt them.
information.
Yeah, it's
valid, yeah.
information. Some people be happy, some people not so much, and then just like straight up things that are not good for Microsoft. So getting right into it, as far as something that's, in my opinion, something really good for everybody to know is that they are remastering Fallout 3 and Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which I guess we did have some type of circulating info about Oblivion
Yeah.
before.
But no, I mean, this all but confirmed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like on a schedule. They have official documents covering it. So in my opinion, I think this is really cool because it's going to give players a chance to hype the release of these games, right? That yes, it would be cool to kind of like be taken by surprise and be like, oh, cool, now I get to play Fallout 3 on my Series X. But now that we know that we can expect it, maybe we can plan our backlogs of game. I know you and I both have like a dozen games that we're trying to play right now.
Yes. Too many, and we're doing it for you.
Just for you. It's not because we enjoy playing games.
Oh yes, absolutely not.
So, in my opinion, I think that there's very little risk to worry about here. Like usually these enormous teams like Bethesda, they have separate project teams that can focus on this compared to other games like the anticipated Elder Scrolls 6. So little concern there.
Talking about Elder Scrolls, them releasing Oblivion or remastering it, I think is a very safe and good call. Like I think that there's no negatives behind that whatsoever. There is a very passionate community for Oblivion.
Yes.
The modding community, what is it called? Skyblivion.
Yes.
They're remaking Oblivion in Skyrim through mods. There is a huge audience for for Elder Scrolls Oblivion. It's a lot of people's favorite Bethesda game ever.
Right.
I am a Skyrim guy. My favorite Bethesda game is Skyrim. I've put an ungodly amount of time in there, but I did play Oblivion before I got into Skyrim, and I loved it. It's a fantastic game. It's very immersive. To see it remastered would be fantastic. And as somebody that likes Skyrim more, who that's my favorite Bethesda game, I hope they don't Skyrimify it. Is that yeah?
Do you think that would happen with the Skyblivion mod? Because those modders confirmed in like an official, like as official as you can make a statement as a modder, they officially confirmed they're still full steam ahead gonna make Skyblivion. So do you think that would like to Skyrimify the game, or what do you think? Also, what does that mean?
So I like how you just kept talking and you had no idea what I meant. So by Skyrimifying Oblivion is very distinct from Skyrim. The visuals, the gameplay, the swordplay, it's a very different game. If you play Oblivion for 1 hour and then you jump into Skyrim, it is a massively different gaming experience. So a lot of people prefer the Oblivion way of Elder Scrolls. They prefer how the camera is, how the sword fighting is, because in Skyrim, when you talk to an NPC, they don't zoom into the face like they do in Oblivion and by extension Starfield. It's very different. Like if I explain the differences between the two, I'd be here all day. But regardless of the fact, they're very distinct, and people like their Oblivion to be Oblivion. So I am slightly worried for those player bases that they're going to try to make it more like Skyrim. I really hope they don't do that, but I have confidence, especially after Starfield. I have confidence that Bethesda knows what the people want.
Yeah, and I think that by the sounds of how you're describing it, it might be best to go for the remaster as opposed to like Skyblivion in those regards. Okay, well, so that was our first pro for Xbox in this big week. Let's move right into a neutral one, which I think this is a perfect transition. There's a lot of circulating documents about Elder Scrolls 6, and one of the big things that we're seeing is they are totally planning for this to be an Xbox exclusive, going day one on Game Pass and not coming out anywhere else except for Xbox and PC Game Pass. I mean, what do you think about that, man? Because that was a huge arguing factor about Call of Duty in this FTC case. They were like, oh, like we're going to be planning on making sure that it's still being released on other consoles like PlayStation, because it would hurt the ecosystem of gamers that's being established here. I recognize that in this game, it's not the same in terms of like the online community, but do you think that it's enough for it to only be released on PC Game Pass and Xbox? Do you think that they couldn't just make more money by releasing it on PlayStation and taking a cut? I mean, what do you think?
Here's my thing. If you're spending a bajillion dollars for Bethesda and you're just dropping freaking Benjamins on this baby, you better make it an exclusive. You just invested so much freaking money into this studio. Yeah, make it exclusive. Listen, I'm not really much of an exclusive guy. I do wish that everybody just could play whatever they want on their different consoles, but that's
Right.
not the case. I like to see competition in the gaming industry, and PlayStation has historically been hyper exclusive with everything they can get their hands on. Anything they purchase is going to be an exclusive. So yeah, I should see that coming from Xbox. It'd be a low IQ move, if you ask me, if they went ahead and put it on all platforms. And if that's the case, why pay for that money? Why
I
pay
don't
for it?
blame them for making that move. I'm just wondering, just in terms of revenue and selling these games, like, is it going to drive consumers to buy an Xbox? Is it going to drive them to make sure they have some sort of PC or some sort of console that they can play this game on? Because this kind of echoes back to our discussion about Mortal Kombat on the Switch. You have a huge game like an Elder Scrolls game. I can't imagine myself playing that on my phone. I can't imagine myself playing that on my smart TV. It's hard for me to imagine that can be, even with the best internet connection, streamed well also. So what do you think about all that? Do you think that the people are going to opt for the Series S to start having the entry point? Like, what do you think?
So I wouldn't knock streaming yet. I know that everybody has kind of a bad taste in their mouth because of the whole Stadia debacle.
Yeah.
And I know Amazon with Luna. I can firsthand say that the streaming on Xbox Game Pass, when you have Ultimate, is actually quite impressive. It's really good. Very little input delay. One of our friends, Murph, we played Battlefront 2, and I was playing on the Series X, and he was playing on his PC through cloud gaming with a controller. And he said he forgot halfway through. He forgot that he wasn't playing on a
Wow.
console. He forgot that he was streaming this game. He was just playing the game. And not to mention that right now, technically, the cloud gaming for Xbox is on beta. It's still in beta testing.
Right. They're still funding it and researching what the best solutions are for it.
So with all that being said, I think that it's very possible that in 2-3 years they'll hash out whatever they need to hash out, and you can just turn on your Game Pass app on your Samsung TV and it'll be just like playing on an Xbox. So it looks like Microsoft is really going gung-ho on their ecosystem above their consoles. And I'll be honest, this, we're a couple years into this current generation of gamings. I think they made the right call with investing in their ecosystem versus their console, even though the Series X is an amazing console.
Yeah, they definitely needed to start competing more on games that can be played on the Xbox. And, Sony's it's no secret, their big strategy has been having games that are exclusive to PlayStation. Instead of making you buy a $70 game, it was super smart for them to come up with this Game Pass plan to have all their exclusives available day one. So that has been a huge game changer. And so getting all these new games for people to play has been a very smart business move.
Well, for somebody who's new to the ecosystem, how are you feeling with Game Pass now that you're getting, your claws into it?
Yeah, like actually being able to dive into it now. I mean, I've seen everybody like talking about which games they can play, and I'm surprised by games that are actually Xbox Game Studios games. I had no idea that Age of Empires was a Xbox Studios game. So, I mean, there's like all these games that I know I'm going to be able to play forever because they're always going to be on Game Pass. That's
Yes.
really encouraging to know. And then it's just really fun other little finds that you get. Like, I have not been able to play Ori and the Blind Forest or Will of the
Fantastic
Wisps.
game. Fantastic
Yes.
game.
And both are on Game Pass right now. So basically, I'm just like a cracked out kid lost in a candy store right now. It's the best problem to have.
Yeah, people are complaining. It's like, well, you don't own the games, you're renting them. I'm like, my man, my brother in Christ. I lived at Blockbuster every Friday renting Super Nintendo games. I'm okay with this.
Yes.
Especially now the games are $70. I ain't trying to pay $70, man. Are you kidding me?
Especially if they come out broken.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm avoiding ending us on a bad note here, but we've got to talk about one glaring issue. I've only got one bad thing from this whole leak, and we've got to talk about it. And it's, speaking of making business decisions that are going to be good for the Xbox ecosystem, it's very clear now that Xbox had one decision that they made this year that was it was a bad bet, and that was their decisions about Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh,
So
yes.
getting into that, there is a document, it's a spreadsheet. It's all of Xbox's proposed acquisitions for Game Pass for this year, and I think that they dated as far back as last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it basically breaks down how much they pay for each one, and we're talking in millions here, right? Like,
Yeah.
these are overwhelming astronomical numbers.
This is money that nobody listening right now can comprehend. And if you can comprehend that, please subscribe to our non-existent Patreon.
yeah, just please throw in all of your charitable donations. But basically, like, just for context, some of these acquisitions that they're proposing would be like Suicide Squad for greater than $250 million, right? Jedi Survivor for $300 million. On the smaller quote-unquote end would be like Lego Star Wars for $35 million. Dying Light greater than $50 million. Yeah. And Red Dead 2 was like a pretty unique one. It was they were anticipating paying more than $5 million a month just to keep it on Game Pass. And then you get to Baldur's Gate 3, which, just so you know here, admittedly, this is a game that has traditionally been played on PC. It has.
Yes.
And in this memo, Phil has like little notes next to each game, kind of giving people who may not have an idea of how important this game is, just giving them context on it, right? On what each game was. And so you have next to Baldur's Gate 3, in quotes there, a second run Stadia PC RPG. So for us, Lewis and I, when we were discussing about this, we were trying to figure out what second run means.
Yeah, people have been dissecting second run all over the interweb, everywhere, and people can't really they can't grasp what they meant. You know, you have your negative camp where it's like, oh, second run, like second rate. You know, you're a second-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck. You know, just terrible. And that's not what Kaiba said. But anyways, and then you have the other part of that. They're saying no, like second run meant that it's not going to come on Xbox on the first run with PC and PlayStation. We're going to get it on the second run. I'll be honest, I really don't know which one it is. I haven't looked into that enough, to be honest. Like, I guess I'm gonna go with that. I guess
we're kind of at like a neutral stance on second run, but then you get to Stadia. And it's hard to take a context from labeling something as a second run Stadia PC RPG, because Stadia, it was meant to be streamed anywhere, not just your PC. So when they call it a Stadia PC RPG, I can't help but objectively see that as a slight.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's using the word Stadia as a compliment in 2023.
No.
Like, nobody.
With all the context that we described before, they expected to pay $5 million for this, and that's the lowest of any game. There were other ones that were $5 million, but none of them were lower than that.
In the same caliber as Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
In terms of quality.
And then you look at how much this game is making, and it has broken records for sales. So let's talk about what this means. We thought at first When you see Baldur's Gate coming out on the PS5 and not the Xbox Series X, you're like, oh, here we go again. PS5 doing their snake tricks, trying to have another
Timed exclusive.
right. But that wasn't even what happened here. We just have Xbox trying to strategically make bets and them not securing it early enough.
Yeah, it was they wanted, and this has been to me a really dumb move, but this whole console parity thing where it needs to run
Oh.
exactly the same on Xbox Series S as it does on the X, that is a surefire way to bottleneck yourself. You are offering a slightly less powerful machine, great, at a discount price, great, but you should know, and this is now on the consumer if you're doing your research, of course, that's not the case. If
Sure,
grandma's
yeah.
buying you a Series S, you're gonna look her in the eyes and say,
Oh, I just
"Thank
know you wanted
Grandma."
to play that Baldur's Gate. I hear you can make them nude characters you love.
And you're gonna say, "Thank you, Grandma. I love you so much." So in those instances, you take that Series S and you try to put your PS5 game in it, and you're gonna freaking tell her you love her.
Yeah.
For most of the people who are really into gaming, you know that you're going for the less powerful console. So there's going to be some trade-offs. The trade-off for Baldur's Gate, because it is confirmed to be coming to the Xbox ecosystem, is that it's not going to have couch co-op.
Right. On the Series S only, right?
Yes,
You
on the
will
Series S.
X.
Yes, you will have it on the Series X. So that console parity, and I'm sure that's the one we know of. I'm sure there's been other instances where this console parity is like a weight around the ankle of these developers.
Absolutely. This is again harkening right back to this Mortal Kombat discussion that we had. I think that it's great that you have a lower entry point to get people into this ecosystem. That's awesome. But this is, like you said, it is a weight and it has to be considered. And people, in my opinion, it's your responsibility at that point to figure out what you want from a game. And you have to make the decision, is it worth that extra couple $100 to just go ahead and get the Series X? Or are you good with just being able to, you're not playing with anybody at home. You don't need that couch co-op. You're just going to try to play with people online. And a lot of people are fine with that. I recognize that there's a lot of people who probably don't really care that they don't have that feature.
I wouldn't care.
So it's on you to decide what you think is best. But bro, tell me something positive about this leak.
One of my favorite things from that leak, I want to say it's the potential of this hybrid cloud platform thing that they're working with. Everything about that is a little convoluted for me, but basically what really grabbed my attention was that it's a less than $99 entry point for people to play games on the Xbox ecosystem, no matter what device they're on. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, and I mean, like, if they can pull that off, I mean, that completely addresses the issue with these lower end hardware problems that we were talking about earlier. You have just this ecosystem where you can stream things from the cloud. That removes the hurdle that these any person trying to purchase a console faces, because they want to have the best of the best, but sometimes it's just not in the budget. And this totally addresses that
for sure. And honestly, another thing that it does is it helps more people play video games around the world. Sometimes we take it for granted that if you want to buy a Switch, you can go out and buy a Switch, or like you want to play Xbox exclusives and PlayStation exclusives, well, you can get both. That's always what people say to like downplay the other team's thoughts on the whole exclusivity thing. And there's just some people that's like, dude, I can't get into any of these. I can't get a Switch, I can't get an Xbox, I can't get a PlayStation because this economy sucks. This would be a really good way to have more people playing video games on any device that they want. And I know that sounds like corporate speech, but if it's real, if it's true, that would be a game changer.
Absolutely game changer. I see what you did there. And speaking of Nintendo and Microsoft, dude, Microsoft is apparently extremely thirsty for Nintendo. I mean, they want them bad.
Microsoft is like Orochimaru and Nintendo is like Sasuke, and Microsoft is like, I want to buy you.
And they're like, I'm just not that into you, Microsoft.
Oh man, it's like it's they're just wrapping their grimy little hands around Nintendo, and everyone's like, leave my Nintendo alone.
And they apparently, when they first started the first Xbox, there were like meetings between Microsoft and Nintendo with them wanting Nintendo software. They were like already trying to propose buying them then.
Dude, I could have swore they got laughed out of the meeting room or something like that.
That's what it said on these reports, man. I mean, that's embarrassing. And the fact that they've, made so much for themselves on their own through Halo and every other game that they've put out along the way, right? It's pretty cool. But just knowing those humble beginnings, it's just hilarious.
Yeah. Well, everyone's up in arms about this email where Phil Spencer's like, I want to buy Nintendo. It'd be a career move. Dude, it'd be a career move for anybody and everyone, like not just Microsoft. There's no way that Sony hasn't thought about the prospect of buying Nintendo. Microsoft obviously wants to buy Nintendo. Bro, I'm sure Netflix, they've had a meeting at Netflix and they're like, how can we buy Nintendo?
Well, I mean, for me, long-standing joke between us, I personally am in the camp that I'm just ready for Disney to just buy Sony, because then I can get my Disney Station 6, get my free Disney Plus trials, and just be able to have all those perks, have a Ratchet and Clank featured in the next Avengers. It's going to be perfect. No one will be upset by it.
Sounds like a freaking dream, man. You click the Disney Station, and When You Wish Upon a Star starts playing. Like, perfect. Perfect.
Oh, man. So, all right, there's on like kind of a more technical side of things, we have had reports of this new controller, and that I've only just stepped into Xbox and the ecosystem, so a huge thing for me to get used to is batteries. I have not ever had to deal with batteries in a controller. I can't even tell you the last time, if I ever did. I mean, the PlayStation 1 was wired. I mean, I've never had this thing, especially in 2023. I'm putting batteries into my damn controller. So let's talk about this new controller, bro. What have you seen on it?
So, as somebody who has been on the Xbox ecosystem since the original one, granted, the original one didn't have batteries either. The batteries came around on the 360 era.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's gonna sound really bad, but I guess I've gotten used to it. But every time I get a new iteration of an Xbox controller where it involves batteries, I just get a rechargeable battery pack. And I'm not talking about the Duracell ones you plug into your wall. It's some that you stick in the back of your controller. It changes the cap on the back, and you put it on a station and it charges. So like, I don't really think about the batteries too much. But I do have to say it is kind of annoying to have to go out and buy a whole separate thing.
Which it looks like this controller is going to come with a swappable rechargeable battery.
So that's perfect. If you're going to make it, so there's some pros and cons, and people are going to be like, no way, is Lewis about to defend batteries on an Xbox controller? But hear me out. First of all, it's really stupid. So I'm like, let's put that out there that it's 2023 and you can put Duracells in a friggin' Xbox controller. But I would say that it is nice that if that rechargeable battery pack starts to crap out on you, you can go buy a new one. I do know with some of those rechargeable controllers on the Switch Pro Remote and on the PlayStation controllers, after years and years and years of use, that battery starts to be, I think it's a lithium battery, it starts to hold less charge, and it costs some money and some time to try to get that battery replaced. With Xbox, it's like, oh, this one's crapping out, you just go buy another one.
That's a good point.
If they can just include that with the Xbox controller, that is perfect. And with this new controller, it's gonna need a lot of juice. There's a lot of specs behind it.
Yeah, so on the topic of Sony's DualSense, it looks like they are trying to include those precision haptic feedbacks that you get on the DualSense, which is, in my opinion, that's really cool. It has been a completely different feel when you are drawing your bow in a game, you're pulling that trigger back. Dude, have you felt it yet on a DualSense? It is cool.
I felt it in Spider-Man when I played Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah, dude. So you get that response and you're like, whoa, like I've been playing games for forever and I've never experienced something like that. So it's just those little small details that I think it's gonna be really cool if they can bring that to the
Yeah,
new
and the
controller.
overall design of the controller looks great. Have you seen it? I like it. It looks sleek.
Yeah, I mean the overall shape looks pretty much the same. It in the proposed graphic that you see in these leaks, it looks like it has like some grips on the bottom, and then the rest of it being that typical plastic look. But it looks nice. It looks clean. I'm really excited to see how it feels.
I've played across all platforms, spanning from 1996. I want to say that's when I really started getting into video games. I've had so many different controllers in my hands throughout my life, and I mean this in the most objective way possible. My favorite controller layout is the Xbox style, diagonal stick layout of the controller. Switch does it with their Pro remote, which let me tell you, that Pro remote gives all the other remotes a run for their money. The Switch Pro remote it feels so nice in the hands, but I like the way that controller feels. But as someone who has just recently started playing the PlayStation 5, which I used to own a PlayStation as well, but that's neither here nor there. I don't like the layout of the PlayStation controller, but the features that come with that controller are magical. That the
The
reactive
touchpad.
the touchpad, the reactive triggers, like if I could get all those features on an Xbox controller, that would be the ultimate gaming pad, the ultimate gaming pad, the best one in the market.
Bro, we already had the best controller with the Nintendo 64.
Oh my god.
Because my problem nowadays is where do I put my third hand?
I know where you put that third hand.
Heyo. So let's talk about some more new features that are not included on anything else right now. So there's this direct to cloud support, like what you saw on the Stadia controller, but I think that they're trying to develop past that. So with the Stadia controller, you could connect directly to Wi-Fi. You could seamlessly transition between your console, TV, wherever that you are playing this on, and I think that's what they're going to try to achieve here. Which, in my opinion, I think that fits perfectly with this whole cloud gaming and Game Pass ecosystem they're trying to create. I think that's perfect.
No, absolutely. And if you're going to put this ecosystem on a bunch of different devices, especially these Bluetooth devices, I heard that it's going to be even easier to connect to Bluetooth compatible screens. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to connect an Xbox controller to their phone to play any sort of game. It is a massive pain in the butt to try to do that. So apparently with this new controller, it's going to be seamless connecting to Bluetooth devices, and that the easier that they can make this cloud gaming ecosystem accessible. Does that make sense? Words,
words,
the better. Words, yeah. The better it'll be for the consumer. And you know, we're in a day and age where I want to say everybody and literally their grandmother are playing video games. Let's make it easy for everybody to just connect to your device and play games.
Yeah. And so it looks like they are anticipating this coming out maybe as early as May this coming year. Probably anticipated to be that usual $70. And it's going to come with every new console coming out. And speaking of new consoles, apparently next year we're going to be getting this console refresh in terms of the Series X, kind of like how they did the Xbox One X. We're getting this
the terrible naming.
Yeah, let's take a second
naming.
to describe a new Xbox in words, okay? Can they agree on something that's more simple, please?
Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X. God, am I missing another one? Xbox One S. Please, Phil Spencer, I know you canceled on us last episode, but if you come down and talk to us, we can give you some names.
We'll brainstorm with you.
We'll figure it out.
Give us a few minutes. We'll figure it out with you. But yeah, so we've got this apparently maybe next year, a Series X that's 2 terabytes, which is nice, and potentially diskless. I mean, what do you think about that, dude?
Can you tell with my moaning and groaning?
I can.
When it comes to Xbox, I mostly play digital, but that does not mean I think that we should go full digital with these Xboxes.
Right.
I'm a game, like, I like to preserve games. I like being able to collect physical discs. For the most part with the Xbox, like I said, I haven't been since Game Pass, but I know that there's thousands is an understatement. I'm sure there's millions of people with a backlog of 360 games, Xbox One games, and I'm sure even with the Series X right now, there's people who still prefer to have that disc. Those people should never be alienated. And
Right.
I am a fan of video game preservation.
And
Somebody out there,
access.
and
Access to
access.
gaming, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some games that you can walk into GameStop right now and you can get the disc for like $5.
Right.
And if you try to go and buy it on the Microsoft Marketplace, it's going to cost you $20.
Yeah.
So they should not take that disc. If listen, if they're going to take the disc drive out of the Xbox Series X, at least, and this is going to sound wonky, but bear with me here, get an external disc reader that you can connect with USB. I'll take that. At least give us an option. It irks me with these digital only consoles. It irks me. It does.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad solution. I think that's something pretty creative that they could easily implement.
Man, here I was trying to not end this leak talk on a negative note, but here I am bringing us back to the negative. Can't help that sometimes.
Hey, that's all right, bro, because I've got another huge chunk of good news for us, okay?
Do tell.
That Microsoft Activision acquisition that has been going on for like a year and a half now is finally officially approved by the CMA in the UK.
Friggin' finally, man. That has, listen, whether you want it to happen or whether you don't want it to happen, we can all collectively agree that this has been the most just drawn out, stressful thing in gaming. I want to say it's been all consuming.
Anything that I know of, yeah, absolutely. And the exciting parts about this is, as a Game Pass user, we're about to get a bunch of really cool games on Game Pass permanently.
I'm stoked for that, and it's going to be like the Bethesda acquisition. Like when they acquired Bethesda, just every single Bethesda game you can think of is just sitting there on your Game Pass, ready to play. I'm expecting that fully with Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the games that you're excited about?
Dude, okay, so I'm excited more of the prospects of the Activision
Okay.
Blizzard merger. So like, yes, I'm excited for like the Spyro trilogy and all of the Crash
Yes.
Bandicoot games on Game Pass. Everybody's excited for Call of Duty, whether you say you hate it or not. Like, Call of Duty is going to be there. That's
Right.
really cool.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, man. I think I'm more excited about the games of the future. Like the Crash Bandicoot, they just came out with that new
The
it's
fourth
about
one, It's About Time.
yeah, it's about time, and it did really well. It's a really fun game.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that with Spyro, man. I want more Spyro games that are
Yes.
just like in the format of the first three. I'm excited for that. I'm sure we can find a way. And this is a pipe dream, but you imagine like as a Game Pass user having access to World of Warcraft on
Oh
like
my gosh.
on your PC as part of your game. And maybe that's a pipe dream, but that would be really cool. There's so many games that it's worth being excited for. What about you, man? Anything in specific?
So, big part of my childhood, and I'm excited to see those old games come back. And like you said, prospect of like possibilities here. I've got my fingers and my toes crossed for a new Guitar Hero.
Oh, dude, Guitar Hero, man.
Like,
they
we need
fumbled
some
that last
updated
game, you know?
I know they really did. They tried to make this creative change with the three buttons going up and down instead of your typical five all the way across, and it just was a miss. It was not. It just didn't feel as satisfying as doing like all those sweeps that you could do on five buttons side by side. So I think we deserve one more shot, and you don't even have to be pumping out new games. Heck, even every few years, I love what they've done with Rock Band, just having like a good base software, and then you can just download new songs if you want them. Like have like a
Yes.
bunch on there, a big set list, and then if you want to play Barbie Girl, you can go online and download that song. If you want to play a Metallica song that's just your favorite, like you can go on and download that. I think that's more than doable, and we need the update on the hardware, because
For
those
sure.
things on eBay are way too expensive.
God, the plastic peripherals are ridiculous, man. That's like
Yes.
$200 for a friggin' regular Rock Band controller with like
Yeah.
nothing special about it. It's kind of crazy. That would be fantastic. And then they add new songs, discounts on Game Pass. Listen, I keep saying Game Pass because they're owned by Microsoft. There has to be some sort of discount for buying games through the Game Pass ecosystem. Like
Yeah.
that is a really good thought. That would be fantastic. I'd be on that. I'd probably ditch Rock Band and go to Guitar Hero because I've always been a Rock Band guy.
Yeah. So would love to see that. But man, I gotta say, and I've got to share this with all of our listeners, this was the big topic. The whole Microsoft Activision merger, the acquisition, all of the legal proceedings that surrounded it. This was a big conversation for you and I for the last year.
Yeah,
Um,
all that drama.
You've been following it closely since the beginning. You were getting me looped into it, and when we had all these conversations, this was probably one of the biggest things that inspired us to start this podcast, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were talking about it for hours on end, and it's like, you know what? This conversation's so great. Now we want hundreds of people to listen to it too.
Yeah, and like in all honesty, it's like some of these things people don't really care to be researching it. We find it interesting, and we just love sharing that with other people, and we love
Yes.
talking about it. We think that we can bring it to all of you in a way that makes your life easier when you're in the hustle and bustle of everything going on. Sometimes you just want to be in the know of how these crazy legal proceedings are going to affect how you unwind. You're going to be coming home to a game at the end of the day, and you want to know, how's this going to affect me? How am I going to be able to, play these games? I can't afford doing $70 games. Well, good news, they're coming to Game Pass, and we're here to talk to you
Yes.
about it. So with that in mind, man, anything coming forward, just know that we love talking to you, all of you, about everything that's going on in the gaming community, because it's our passion, and we love breaking it down in a way that's fun and enjoyable for all of you to listen to.
Absolutely.
So with that, we've had another awesome time discussing all this with you. Can't wait till next time. Thanks for lobbying up with us.
See you guys.